Today we're learning how to file a 1040 form. The form that I'm going to give you on your desk is a 1040 form. Okay? So that is what we're going to learn how to do. It's just front and back. That's it. This is what you submit for your taxes along with your W-2s. Okay? That's it. We're going to learn how to do that today. Let me come around and pass these out. You'll need a writing utensil, and I would suggest it be a pencil. If you do not have a pencil, please get one from my cup up here because you're going to want to be able to erase if you make a mistake.
I always make mistakes.
We all do, Chloe. We all do. We all make mistakes. It's part of life, okay? You learn from your mistakes. That's the important.
Just kidding, my brothers are mistakes, not me. My dad actually wanted a girl.
Technically, I shouldn't do
And my dad did too. Well, I like it. But my mom wanted C. Kayla Cody.
Okay. Quick question. Does everybody have a copy of their 1040 form on their desk? Or in their writing service? Okay. Because everybody needs one. You're going to get 3 more later, but everybody needs one right now.
3?
Yeah, 3. Because practice makes perfect, Brooklyn. Practice
Wait,
makes
we're getting
perfect.
3 of these?
At some point you are, but today we're just going to worry about one.
Do I really have to worry about this if someone can do it for me?
Here's the thing.
Like, I'll do it, but like...
Where'd Jacob go?
Here's the thing. Let me show you how to do it. Because at this phase of your life, you doing it is going to save you money. In the future, that may not be the case. But at this phase of your life, you doing it is actually going to save you money.
My dad will give that person
That's
money.
great, but let's learn how to do something
I
rather than
wanna
relying on others. Here's also the thing. If they do it wrong, you lose out. So let's make sure we at least know the process, okay? And it's so simple. It really, really is at this stage, guys. There's not a reason none of you should be paying somebody to do your taxes at this stage in your life. Okay? Now, yes, those services exist because there is purposes for them. But at this stage in your life, none of you should be paying somebody to do your taxes. You're going to be losing money doing that. All right? Let's look at this. Let me at least walk you through this example. Give you a chance to work on some other examples. If you still choose that you want to pay somebody to do your taxes, that's your business. Okay? I'm not going to be following you around telling you that's wrong. Okay? But I want to at least show you so you know what to do. So in our assignment today, if you click on this, what you're going to see is completing a 1040, and it looks like this. I'm going to scroll to the top of it so you can see it from start to finish. What you've been provided here are 4 different scenarios. We have Edgar, Melinda, Angela, and Marcus. Okay, hold on. You're not putting any names. You're not doing anything to the sheet until I tell you because we're doing this step by step together. So do nothing on the sheet until I tell you. There are 4 individuals up here. One of these we're going to do together. Any guesses on which one we might do together? Why do you think that, Peyton?
What did she say?
She said Melinda.
Because it's the green one.
Oh, it's the green one. She's right. That's the one we're going to do together today. Okay, I made it green on purpose so you would know that that's the one we worked on together. The white ones you're going to do on your own. Okay, but the green one we're going to do together today, Melinda. And what you'll see here is she is 18 years old, similar maybe to some of you are close, lives with her parents, and is going to be heading to college in the fall. Huh, maybe a similar situation for some of you. She worked around 10 hours a week during her senior year at a local ice cream shop and 40 hours a week during the summer. Okay, so she's worked. She's got some examples of work. And she worked at the same place multiple different times throughout the year, maybe varied hours. Okay, again, probably a similar situation to some of you. You work less during the school year, but you still work. Okay, Melinda's W-2, what she gets from her employer, is linked right here. Let's go ahead and open Maria's W-2. When we do that, you should see something that looks like this. And some of you may open it and be like, it looks like it's blank. It's not blank. It's just got tiny writing on it. And a lot of your W-2s will look similar. Okay, notice it has her social security number up here. It's mostly X's, but that's what they put in place of her social security number. It has her employer's identification number. so that they know that she was employed by somebody who paid into the tax system. Okay, it has the address of her employer. It has her address down here, her name and her address. It has how much she paid in taxes or in wages, tips, and other compensation, how much she was paid. It has how much she paid into the federal taxes, how much she paid into Social Security, how much she paid, how much of her check could have gone into Social Security, how much she actually paid into Social Security, how much of her check could have gone into Medicare, how much she actually paid into Medicare. Notice, these three numbers are the same. It means that her entire income was looked at when determining how much to contribute to these areas. All right? So in the course of a year, based on this information, how much did she make? Look at the W-2. In the course of a year, how much did she make? Wages, tips, and other compensation. $12,741. Okay? And then down here, we have state wages and tips. This is how much could have gone into that. Again, the total income and how much actually got paid in. $179. So we see that this is how much she made, and here's how much is paid into each of these categories. So now we're ready to file our taxes because we've looked at the W-2, we know what it says, and now we're ready to put this information in the right places on our tax form. Okay? So if we go to our tax form, which is sitting in front of you, our 1040 income tax filings sheet, what you're going to do is start doing this based off of Melinda's information. So filing status. Is she single? Married filing jointly? Married filing separately? Is she the head of the household, or is she a qualifying widower?
What's that?
Was she married and then somebody passed away?
Oh.
So she would be a widower. Does that make sense? Okay, so in her situation that we looked at on this assignment,
She never said she was.
it says she's 18, she lives with her parents, and is heading to college in the fall. So which situation? Single. Single. So let's check mark single. That makes the most sense, right? Do we know Melinda's first name? Oh, Melinda. Do we know her middle initial?
No.
We do, because it says it on her W-2 form. Are you on the front of the
Linda
paper?
S.
So, Mark single?
Yes.
Oh my god.
That's all.
Just said
And
that
then
5
now we're
seconds
ready to
ago.
read. That's all we've done so far.
Melinda S.
Ah, it's Melinda S. Where'd you find that information?
On the bottom.
On the W-2 form where her name and address is. Okay? So, what is her last name? Flowers. Do we know her social security number?
No.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Because it's on the W-2 form. Now, it's going to be a lot of X's, but you see it's 987 XX XXXX. Put that in the social security spot so we get practice. Now, it says on the next line, if joint return, spouse's first name and middle initial. Do we hear anything about her having a spouse?
Nope.
No, so we're leaving that blank. That whole line stays blank. First name, last name, and spouse's social security number because they don't exist.
You don't put NA?
Nope, just leave it blank. Leave it blank. Home address. Do we know her home address?
Yes.
Yeah.
We do, because it's on her W-2 form. So go ahead and fill that in right now. So where it says home address, you should be putting the first line of her address in that first box. And then the other parts go below that, the city, state, and zip code. This is also the same way you would address an envelope. Now, you'll notice off to the side of the address, there's a little box that says presidential election campaign. Check here if you or your spouse is filing jointly and you want $3 to go to this fund. Check a box below will not change your tax or your refund. So if you think Melinda wants to contribute to the presidential election campaign, you can check yes, or you. But if you don't think she does, then just leave it blank.
Where's that at? Sorry, I'm not on the
It's to the right of all the address
Oh, I
information.
did this wrong. Did you find the
Oh.
And I told you to put that other stuff in the line below. You also have to listen. Because I expect something doesn't mean I don't care. So let's watch our comments, please. Then the next line below where it mentions foreign country name, because she lives in the United States, so we don't need to put anything there. It says at any time during 2020, because it's looking at the 2020 year, because we're in 2021 right now, so we can't file the 21 taxes until after this year. So that's why we're looking at 2020. At any time during 2020, did you receive, sell, send, exchange, or otherwise acquire any financial interest in any virtual currency like Bitcoin or something like that? And for her, we're going to say no, but you would need to know that for your situation. Okay? So for her, you're going to check no. Now the next line says standard deduction. Someone can claim, and then you have to check the box that makes the most sense, or leave them blank. Somebody can claim Melinda as a dependent. Someone can claim her spouse as a dependent, or her spouse is itemized on a separate return, or your dual status alien. Does she have a spouse?
No.
No. So we know both of those don't matter. Is she a dependent?
Yes.
Yes. How do we know this?
Because she's 18.
Because she lives with her parents. She lives with her parents. So make sure we check you are a dependent.
She's not blind.
She is not blind, but that is a question that is asked, as you can see on this form, age and blindness. So for this section, we wouldn't check anything because she wasn't born before that date, and she is not blind, and she doesn't have a spouse, so we don't have to worry about that. Dependence. Does she have anybody that's dependent on her?
No.
Not that we're aware of. So we're going to leave that part blank. Totally skip over the dependents. Now we get down to the actual dollars. Okay, now does everybody see on your 1040 form how there are numbers 1 through 15 on the front? Does everybody see that? Okay, I want to point out something on your assignment. If you go into where it says completing a 1040 and scroll past this little chart, you are given some information that goes with each line. Notice it told us for virtual currency to check no, and then it starts giving us some instructions for some of the numbered lines. For instance, right here for lines 2A through 8, it says that we're going to assume what? 0. We're going to assume 0 for each value. It tells us to do certain things on certain lines. So we're going to take the lines one at a time, but we're going to refer to this chart as we go through because it's going to give us some instructions. So line number 1, wages, salaries, tips, and etc. from the W-2 forms. What was her wages, salaries, and tips from the W-2 form? You guys remember? 12,741. And just to show you where we found that information, it's in box 1. 12,741. So on line 1, we're going to write 12,741. And then what did the instructions tell us to do for 2A through line 8? We're going to put 0. So notice there's some boxes right over here that say 2A, 3A. Those are all getting 0. And then from 2B down to line 8, place a 0 in each of those boxes. Because that's what the instructions told us to do. And these are going to be the same instructions for each of the 1040s that you file. Now we should be about ready for line 9. Is everybody to the point to do line 9?
We're just supposed to put zeros from 2B to 8?
Yep.
Okay.
And all the 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, and 6A's as well. Yep. Okay, so now we're ready for line 9. It says add lines 1, 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7, and 8. This is your total income. Well, if most of those are zeros, all we really have to do is rewrite line 1, right? So in line 9, rewrite what you had in line 1. So far, is this that difficult? It's really not. And at this stage in your life, this is really what it would be like. That's why I chose Melinda to do as a sample together. If you're paying somebody to do your taxes, you could see why they would be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do your taxes. No problem, $100 please. Yeah. Okay. Now let's look at lines 10A through C. It says you're going to have no adjustments to your income. So for our situation, that means that 10A, 10B, and TC, or 10C, are going to have a 0 written in those boxes. No adjustments would equal 0. Now we're ready for line 11. And there's no special instructions, so we just need to read what it says. It says subtract line 10C from line 9. This is your adjusted gross income. So what is the number that's going to go on line 11? 12,741. That is your adjusted gross income. So go ahead and write that amount. Now for line 12, we do have some special instructions here. It says, determine if the individual is or is not a dependent. Remember, we've talked about what it qualifies a person as a dependent. Is this person, Melinda, a dependent?
Yes.
Yes, because she lives with her parents, right? So it says, if you are not a dependent, enter this amount. If you are a dependent and line 1 is greater than $12,400, you're going to enter $12,400. So we know she's a dependent. Is line 1 greater than $12,400? It is. It's greater by about $300. So what amount are we going to write on line 12? $12,400. So please write that amount on line 12. Are you already done with this part? Line 13, it says assume no qualified business income deduction. So if we assume none, just like on lines 10A through C, the answer is 0. So on line 13, you're putting 0. And then lines 14 and 15, there's no special instructions, so we're just going to read what it says. Line 14 says add line 12 and 13. What do you get? 12,400. And then 15 is where we actually get to do something a little exciting. We get to do some subtraction. Okay? Line 15, taxable income. Subtract line 14 from line 11. Subtract line 14 from line 11. What do you get? $341. So that's your taxable income. $341. Now we're ready to move to the back of the sheet because there's more. But we're almost done. Line 16, it says to find tax for 16, you need to refer to the tax table that starts on page 66 of the 1040 instructions. And if you were to click here, it's linked there, and you'll have to do that for the other ones, but I already have it pulled up for our demonstration right now.
Does it say like page 66 of the 140?
Yeah. And so what I did is I opened up that link, And up here at the top, I changed it to page 66 so I could get to the right page. And now I'm on the right page. I'm at the right section. And what it tells me to do on line 16 is it says I'm going to basically look up that amount. Do you remember what did we check mark for her marital status? Single, married, or her filing status? Single, married, filing jointly, married, filing separately, or head of household? Which one did we check for her? Single. So when we're looking at this tax table, we're going to keep our eye on the single column. Okay? And what is the number that we're looking up on the single column? Any ideas? We're looking up her taxable income from line 15. So what is her taxable income? 341. So notice they say right up here at the top, it says at least but less than. So we're looking for the number 341 and where it would land on this chart. Okay, so if it's at least 325 but less than 350, then this is the category she would be in. Does that make sense? Because that number would be between that range. Is everybody with me so far? And that means if we look in the single column, what is the number that they give us here? 34. So on line 16, we're going to write 34.
Are we supposed to check any of the boxes on 16?
No. You would leave that blank. It says check if you have any of these forms, but we don't have those forms. Yes?
Where do you get that at? I can't.
Okay, it's in the instructions on the assignment.
Oh, okay.
But I'll show you because I want the people in the video to see it too. So in line 16, it has you click on this link, takes you to that document. And then you would get to page 66 like it says. Yeah. Okay. Now lines 17, 19, 20, and 23 are really easy because what do they tell us to do? Put in 0. So don't do it on any of the lines it doesn't say. But lines 17, 19, 20, 23, go put zeros on those lines right now. And then we'll look at the lines that don't have something on them here in a moment.
18, 19.
17, 19, 20, and 23. Put a 0. So for line 18, it tells us to add lines 16 and 17. What do we get? 34. For lines 21, line 21 says add 19 and 20. 0. 22 says subtract line 21 from line 18. What do you get? 34 on line 22. And then we're going to skip down to 24, and it says add lines 22 and 23. 34. Correct. Now we're ready for lines 25A, 25B, and 25C. Any special instructions here? Okay, so lines 25B and C, it says you assume that you don't have that form, so we're going to put 0 in for those. But let's look at for 25A, it says look at forms W-2, federal income tax withheld. So if we look at the W-2 form for Melinda, we want to find out what her federal income tax withheld was. And that is box 2, because it says federal income tax withheld. So this is the amount we're going to write down, $534.96. $534.96. Now typically you want to just leave the change off and we would round. So what would we round that to? $535. So let's go ahead and round. And maybe make a note off to the side there that you rounded. So you know for later and future reference that you rounded that number.
Is this going on 25A?
This is going on 25A, yes. And then line D, or 25D, says what? Add lines 25A through 25C. So what is it going to be?
535.
535.
What about 25C?
20
Or is that 0?
It was 0. Yeah. And that's the only reason we know that is because the instructions told us to do that. Okay. Now let's look at line 26. Line 26 does have a special instruction. It says, assume no estimated tax payments or amounts from 2020. So what are we going to put for line 26? 0. Lines 27 through 32. No one in our scenarios is eligible for these credits. So what are we going to put? 0. So lines 27 through 32, all of those are zeros.
Why can't we run this? Or she run it?
Because you wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
In her situation and all the situations that we're showing you, they wouldn't be eligible.
Oh, additional child.
So
tax.
27 is
Yeah, so you see that?
Yeah, I hope she
That's
doesn't have children.
right. So they're just not eligible. It's not a bad thing. They're just not eligible. Okay. 32. Line 32 should be a 0 also, as it mentioned. Okay. Now let's look at line 33. What does it say to do? It says add lines 25D, 26, and 32. So that's 535 and a bunch of zeros. So your answer on line 33 is 535. Now we've done. We're finished. Now we just got to figure out how much we're owed. That's it. So line 34, it says if line 33 is more than line 24. So let's look at line 33. Let's look at line 24. So if line 33 is more than line 24, subtract line 24 from line 33. That's the amount you overpaid. $501. So then 35 asks us, 35A, it says, the amount of line 34 that you want refunded to you. I want all of it refunded to me, so I'm going to put 501. And that means the lovely IRS is going to be sending me a check for $501. Now, I can put in my information and they can have it directly deposited into my account if I put in all my routing information. And that's what that is for. We're not going to do that for Melinda because we would just be making up stuff. But that's what you would need to do in that situation is have your routing information so they can directly deposit that into your account. And within a few weeks, you would see a check come in for $501. Okay, this is going to be the situation for most of you. Most of you have paid more into taxes than you were expected to pay and would receive a refund. The government's never going to say, hey, you should file your taxes so you can get a refund. They're never going to say that to you. In fact, they would rather you forget because then they get to keep your money if it's 3 years after the fact. So it's wise for you at this stage in your life to file because you're probably getting a refund. And it's also wise for you at this stage to file yourselves because it's really not that complicated. Most of these are going to be zeros, just like they were in Melinda's situation. All right? So we're pretty much done. The only thing I want to point out to you is that you would need to complete these bottom parts like signing and stuff like that, but you're not Melinda, so we won't commit, fraud here. We won't make you sign on her behalf. All right, but that's what you would do. Okay, you would sign, and then you would send this document in along with a copy of your W-2, so they can see that the amounts are all accurate.
Will you just send it to the IRS?
You would, and in fact, it typically will tell you in the instructions the address to send it to. But yes. Any questions about this? I know it seemed pretty daunting at first, but after we actually did it, does it seem less daunting now? Okay. So you can see that when you go to do this, you're going to need 3 pieces of information, right? You're going to need their W-2. You're going to need this list of instructions, which, by the way, when you get one of these forms, they come with a list of instructions. Okay? So you're going to need your W-2, you're going to need your list of instructions, and when it comes time, you're going to need to access the tax table. Those are the 3 pieces of information you'll need to complete your taxes when it comes time to do them. And for you right now, when it comes time to complete the taxes for Edgar, Angela, and Marcus. All right? So we did Melinda together. Now I want to see how you do with these different situations, Edgar, Angelita, and Marcus. And you're going to have all of the rest of today, which I know is not a ton of time, and then we'll give you the whole class on Monday to work on this. All right? So let's go ahead and transition. I'm going to give you 3 new sheets so you can work at your own pace.
Do you want to throw these away?
I would keep it if I were you, so you can refer to it for your next ones that you have to do. And I would put your name somewhere at the top, so that way you know it's yours and you can keep a hold of it.